Does ADHD make you more sensitive to stress, and does stress make your ADHD symptoms worse? I'm Sarah Greenberg, a Harvard-educated psychotherapist and behavioral health leader with over 20 years of experience. I also lead our team of over 90 experts and researchers here at Understood. Today, I'll be answering some of the internet's biggest questions on ADHD and stress. Does ADHD make you more sensitive to stress? Yes. Stress can increase symptoms like struggles with organization, planning, struggles with sleep, right? Which then makes symptoms even worse. So absolutely, you can get stuck in the stress cycle with ADHD where the symptoms feel worse. On the other hand, stress can help activate and focus the ADHD brain. So it's a very interesting relationship between the ADHD brain and stress. Why do people with ADHD get overwhelmed so easily? I want to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk about what's going on inside the self-talk of the ADHD brain. Often when the ADHD brain experiences something hard, there's certain very common thought patterns that can come in. First of all, there's a really high level of perfectionism, setting the bar so high that is an overwhelming standard for anyone to reach. The thing with the ADHD brain, you may not know that you're setting the bar high. You think this is just what everyone does or what you should be doing. Not true. Another is mixing facts and feelings. You feel really bad, so you're interpreting the situation as it is really bad. But feelings are not facts, and this is so important, especially when the ADHD brain struggles with mood. One of the most effective approaches to managing stress and overwhelm is called cognitive behavioral therapy. One of the fundamental approaches of cognitive behavioral therapy is recognizing these unhelpful thought patterns and starting to shift them over time. What are the best stress management techniques for ADHD? The way I work with clients is to think of two paths for stress management. One is these kind of short-term quick wins that can immediately shift your inner state to leave more room for you to act. You could use these at any time of day. The second is a more long-term path where you're really building those internal muscles to manage stress better across your entire life. What's the connection between ADHD and chronic stress? This is a cycle I see all the time in my practice. And I want to highlight something really important, which is the relationship between avoidance, task piling up, more stress, which is what makes that stress chronic. You're behind on a project. It's due in 3 days. Stress signals to the brain, let's avoid this. This is really unpleasant. But while that feels really good for the first 24 hours, no issue. This project is off my plate. I'm not thinking about it. As it gets closer and closer to the deadline, it becomes more stressful. In the meantime, other things are piling up. So you avoid one stressor, things pile up, probably a new stressor comes in at that time, things pile up more. Avoidance, you can see the cycle of how that stress can become, one, very overwhelming, and two, in this kind of chronic pattern that can feel hard to get out of. How do you know if it's ADHD or stress? In times of high stress, many people can have what we call ADHD-like symptoms. This means forgetfulness, trouble with planning, trouble with organization. ADHD-like symptoms are something we can all have in these periods of high stress, but that doesn't mean you have ADHD. When you have ADHD, in periods of high stress, the symptoms may increase, they may feel more pronounced, but they're also going to be there in times of not high stress. The difference is really the longevity of symptoms, the duration, and the degree to which they disrupt your life. By the way, how has ADHD impacted your stress symptoms? Let us know in the comments below. What's the difference between stress and anxiety? Stress and anxiety both can be helpful or unhelpful. Stress is usually tied to something external, nameable. It tends to pass when the stressor is removed. Anxiety doesn't pass when the stressor is removed. It tends to be more internally wired. It tends to be free-floating. It can glom onto just about any situation. When you have anxiety, you'll find that you have that in most situations. As a clinician who has been doing this for a very long time, I want you to know that if you feel like that anxiety is getting in the way of you living your life, reaching your goals, having satisfying relationships, that's a really good time to reach out for support. Can ADHD medication help with stress and anxiety? Well, ADHD medication is not intended to treat stress and anxiety, but it certainly can help with the things that cause stress and anxiety. Struggles with organization and planning, that can bring on a lot of stress when life requires a lot of organization and planning. So when you're addressing these kind of core issues to ADHD, you'll generally find that your stress goes down. If ADHD meds aren't for you for whatever reason, there are a lot of behavioral supports you can use to also address the core symptoms of ADHD that are also going to just make your life less stressful. And who wouldn't benefit from a toolbox that helps with planning, organization, motivation, whether you're on meds or not on meds? Does ADHD cause physical stress symptoms like headaches? There's some really fascinating research out there on the link between chronic pain and ADHD, migraines and ADHD, and physical pain and ADHD. Stress, particularly chronic stress, can lead to tension, which of course accentuates physical symptoms like headaches, bodily tension, aches, back pain, TMJ. The link between stress and these conditions is very well documented, as is the link between chronic stress and ADHD. How does rejection-sensitive dysphoria relate to stress and ADHD? The simple answer is it's stressful to experience a strong sense of rejection on a regular basis. This feels really terrible. There's studies that show sense of rejection or lack of belonging affects the same neural pathways as pain, actual physical pain in the body. This is how wired we are for connection. If you feel that sense of rejection from the people you care about on a regular cadence, whether or not it's real, and with RSD, it's often not real. But when you feel that and that rejection feels so real, it's really then hard to put yourself out there into the world without a sense of stress or hesitation or avoidance. On the other hand, one of the best ways to manage stress in our life is through social connection. The difference between stress being kind of toxic and having really negative impacts on our life and health is whether or not someone has strong social relationships in their life. Those are the two pathways through which RSD is related to stress and ADHD. But even if you are having those regular bouts of feeling very rejected, feeling very judged, you can learn to act anyway, because the truth is we all need and deserve love, support, connection. And there are absolutely ways to get that, even if you know that you're a little bit sensitive to that sense of rejection. If any of this hit home today, you are not alone and you do not have to stay stuck. I helped create a free self-guided activity called ADHD Unstuck for moments like this. It was designed by women with ADHD for women with ADHD to help boost your mood and get you feeling more like yourself in only 10 minutes. Give it a try today by heading to the link in the description.